Hello everyone, you're watching AMN Plus. This is our program, Diplomatic Corner. Technological advancement is highly accelerating in the world, particularly artificial intelligence and robotics are to control in the future the lives of the people around the world. The individuals and organizations, even governments and countries will need to update themselves with the required skills and knowledge so that they can cope with these digital technologies. Today I'm sitting with a young man, Fikru. We're going to talk about digital-related issues. Stay with us. Well, Fikru, I really thank you for your time, for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
First, tell us something about you, your education, and your careers, what you are doing right now.
So my name is Fikru. Currently, I'm a full-time traveler, as I am traveling and exploring the African cultures and the East African communities. But other than that, I am a student in mechanical engineering, approaching the end of my study chapter. And I aspire to become a robotics engineer very soon. So as of for now, I'm also working in a startup on a part-time basis where we focus on electrical mobility also in the form of electrical motorbikes. Other than that, of course, I have some free time whenever I can. I do some sports, some music, some other activities that keep myself up and keep myself motivated to pursue my goals and careers.
Okay, that's great. We'll talk more about mechanical engineering and robotics. But you've told that you've got some kind of experience in traveling. So you've got traveling experiences. So what country or what regions of the world have you traveled to?
Listen, there's so many more places that I need to discover, but as of now, the humble few destinations that I had were currently in the Southeast Asia part. So it has been Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Dubai, but also now here in the African community, it has been Morocco. I've been to Zambia, I've been to Tanzania, Kenya, currently in Ethiopia, but also continuing on to Egypt. But as I said, there's so many more areas and countries to explore, so I'm looking forward to see even more than that, than just what I had done so far.
Yeah, a great experience, but in all your traveling experiences, so I think you got some kind of impressions when you look at the people's culture that you may have not think about it, and the way of life that people are living there. So can you tell us something about the difference of cultures in the world and the difference of their way of life?
As a background, maybe I live in Switzerland currently, and I have traveled a lot in the European continent, so there I'm very familiar with the culture. And I would also say, of course, there's the differences between the different countries, and yet the European mindset is very similar, I would say. It's only as soon as you leave that continent that you encounter very different mindset, very different cultures. And I had this indeed when let's take the most recent what I have, Africa. When I came to Africa, I immediately noticed that there's big substantial differences. On one hand, you have, of course, a very different landscape, very different challenges with that landscape. In Zambia, there's big droughts, so that caused some load shedding, and people need to adapt to it. So the lifestyle there is very, very different. But also in other places, there's a fuel shortage, or there's, there can even be some water shortage. There's many challenges that are coming with the land that in that place where people actually are living. And yet, I noticed that the African people, so talking about differences, they embrace those challenges, and life still goes on. They still have their fun, they still have their activities. They still, it is not cutting them from having a good life, I would say. Of course, a challenging life, but yet they are very patient, and they are very resilient to all these challenges that are coming. And of course, one thing that is very noticeable is the difference in pace of life. So I would say in Europe or in the Western communities, it is in general a very fast-paced life. You have a busy schedule. As soon as you wake up, there's like this and that you have to do, and then an appointment at exactly this time, and then maybe even 15 minutes afterwards there's the next appointment, and you run from this place to that place, and then in the evening, once you're done with work or like your obligations, then you run to, let's say, your hobby, sport, run to family or whatever, and in one day there's like so many more like things that are happening, which is like on the long term can also be like very stressful. So I noticed that the pace is slightly less fast here, which makes it much more enjoyable. You can enjoy the small moments that you have. You don't have to worry too much. You don't have to stress too much. You have like a bit more of an ease of mind, like when just going about the activities, because you don't know exactly how long it is going to take, but you're also kind of accepting, or at least I learned to accept. Sometimes it takes this much time, sometimes it takes much longer, but it's okay. You can just live with it and just accept it. So this is something that is very refreshing to me, which allows me to slow down and to like reflect on things and enjoy the things a bit more than I would say like it is in usual. So those kind of like differences, as soon as you come here, you feel like it is very, very different, and you start also to enjoy it. So I wonder how it will be once I go back to Europe.
You are here in Addis Ababa.
Yeah.
So you grew up not in Ethiopia, I think.
No, that's correct, yes.
You have come here to Addis Ababa, to Ethiopia. Is it your first time to come to Ethiopia?
This is my very first time, in fact, yes.
So you've been to Danakil Depression in the Afar region, the northern part of Ethiopia.
Exactly.
So it's also a great experience for you just to see the active volcanoes there. So tell us about your impression about what you have seen there.
It is mind-blowing what you can discover there. I think the landscape is changing every few kilometers. It is, on purpose, I didn't research too much. I just researched the basics that I needed just to go there. But I didn't watch too many like videos or didn't check like many pictures. So when I arrived, I didn't know what to expect. But from the first moment on, when the trip started, it was mind-blowing. You had like so different sceneries that are coming like one after the other, starting with like some very flat places, then some mountainous places, some hilly places, then you had some big let's say like even deserts, like sand deserts or even salt deserts. You had some lava fields. It was very fantastic. And also, of course, like being in Dalol itself, having the sulfuric environment, it is like it's a very unique place. I did not know such a place would exist in the world, and yet like in Ethiopia even. Like so, yeah, I had a very good time discovering those very different like landscapes, and I think I will not forget this trip.
Do you know Dalot Depression is the deepest point in the world?
Indeed, that surprised me.
Yeah, so you've gone to the deepest point in the world. You may have read something about Addis Ababa, or maybe your father may have told you about Addis Ababa. So before coming here to Addis Ababa, I think you had a kind of expectations. So and after you saw the city itself, the hospitality of the people, tell us something about that.
Okay. Well, I usually try not to have too many expectations, because otherwise there's of course like going to be some clash with what you expected and what you actually see. And yet I could not like refrain from having some slides, like things that I was going to like hope for or expect. So I think my expectations mostly started when I came to this trip to this eastern part of Africa, and after I've seen like other countries, I was like expecting something similar, but yet different. I knew the Ethiopian culture quite well through my family, through the friends of the family. So I knew the food, of course, very well. I knew the beverages, the drinks very well also. So those kind of things like I expected to see here, but even more and even better, of course, than what I have like had in Europe. But city-wise, I was not sure what to expect even. Like I tried to imagine what could be Addis. After being in Nairobi, I imagined maybe it is also kind of like Nairobi. And arriving here, I can say it is like Nairobi, but even more. Like it is, I did not expect that there will be such a beautiful skyline, that it would be such a modern city, that the different districts can have like such a different atmosphere about them. I also did not expect for such a big city, it to be so quiet and so organized yet compared to other African countries. Of course, there's like some areas where there's busy, where there's traffic and all, but that's like the part of like a metropole as Addis Ababa. But no, I must say, like, it is in general, even though it is like the capital of Ethiopia, maybe this is like reflecting the calmness and the peace of the people, of the Ethiopian people. So I find the city being big and yet not overwhelming in emotions or in like noise or in like whatever it is like around you that is like pushing at you. So I find it like pretty nice like to be in Addis in general.
Let's talk about the robotics and the artificial intelligence or the digital world in general. So I think you are close to this sector, I think, since you've graduated from in mechanical engineering. The advancement of artificial intelligence and robotics is now, as I have already said, is accelerating, and I think it is going to dominate the world. So can you tell us the advantage of this digital era to the economic development of a certain nation?
Massive advantages of like adapting such advanced technologies into your country. So, I mean, on one hand, like, of course, the easiest one is it is just much faster. Such technology allow you to do the same work that you previously did in a faster way and a more efficient way, and also usually more correct way. Of course, like it needs some development of these systems that they are really like performing as you expect them to perform or as a human would. But let's just say like many countries started to adopt like online forms instead of like those typical paper written forms. Those, for example, it is like a small step. It is not even like the peak of like the technology that we're talking about. But like even just like having an online form, it is saving so much time and so much like organizational work, and it is everything is being more streamlined. So you can like focus on the actual task and not on the organizational task. So you don't have to worry about those things around you. So with those advancements, those technological advancements, it frees the people that are like great thinkers to focus on the problems that are actually mattering and not on the small problems that are like just an organizational hustle. So people can then focus on the actual important things and not only like on the small paperwork or whatever. So people become more efficient because of like those technologies. I think a nation that embraces such technologies will become more efficient in the long term, but also will start to gain an advantage compared to a country that will not like embrace those. So it is important to keep up with like those advancements. Otherwise, the other countries are gonna like make use of it and will progress faster than your own country, because they are adapting like to the new environments. So I think it is like for a country on an economical scale a very important thing to keep up with this and like even to try to advance with this too.
The most important question when we talk about this technological advancement and the recent progress of the digital area is about adaptation of the technology. Particularly, it focuses on the youth and the coming generations. So the youth, the young people, have a great responsibility to equip themselves with the necessary skills and knowledge so that they can go in line with the technologies. Because if they are not competent enough, they cannot do what they wanted to do in the future. So they are always just behind. To cope with this emerging digital era, the younger people, particularly the African younger people, what do you think they need to do?
On one hand, I think they are already kind of keeping up with it by, like, a lot of people from what I've seen have already their smartphones and access to internet. So just by having this first step, they are in a position where they can actually like research the things and keep up, like get the news, get the advancements, like at least hear from them, read about them, see some videos about them, and even maybe try some of these out. So I think they are already at a level where they could compete and like already get the information about these. So now I think like what is important for the African youth is also to develop the interest and also like the curiosity to try them out. So it is one thing to hear about them on videos that someone else did, that someone else experimented on and used, but it's another thing also to try it yourself. So you gotta like get your hands dirty, try it out. Like there's many of those technologies are just widely available on the internet. Something like programming or like some AI models, you can download them on your computer and just have a test run with it and then see what it can do, what can you tweak, how can you play around with it. So the resources are there. There just needs also to be some interest to try out those resources and to keep up with the other people in the world that are already like using those resources on a daily basis. So I think there's good chances like to keep up with just like the curiosity, and also like the fear of it needs to be taken away, because those technologies can be can appear like scary if you don't know them very well.
Yeah.
But as soon as you like dig into it, try it out, start very slow. Don't eat a full elephant. Take a small piece by piece, and then just like digest it, and then try another thing, and more and more and more. And at some point, you'll see yourself becoming an expert, or even like compared to your surroundings, at least like someone who's knowledgeable about it. So, yeah, it just needs like some initial energy to get into it, to go through that hard path. But as soon as you kind of like get the grasp of the idea, it is going to be become like very natural.
When you are familiar with those other technologies, and they can ease your life, I think, and they could be part of your life. But when you are not familiar with them, just as you say, might be scared of themselves. Yes.
Indeed, yes. The same way, like some people back then, like let's say 20 years ago, were scared of smartphones or whatever, or telephones in general. Like nowadays is a world where everyone has one of it, and if you don't have a smartphone, you kind of like have a disadvantage compared to your peers. So yeah, it is very comparable, I would say.
You know, the good thing about Ethiopian young people and African young people, there are not a lot of smart people, young people, who are very good at these technologies. And on the other hand, there are also a segment of young people who are not familiar with this. Can develop some kind of hope when you see those young peoples, because they will take their countries, they will just carry their nations, by the way, and to the destinations that their countries would like to be at. All right, so you know that Addis Ababa is just trying or exerting its efforts to become a smart city. That's why it has started initiations to make every services be digitally equipped. And on the other hand, the government of Ethiopia, if you whether you have gotten the information or not, I don't know, but have you ever heard of these 5 million cadres? It is an initiative of the Ethiopian government to train the 5 million citizens of Ethiopia, regardless of ages and education or something like that, but to equip those citizens with digital technologies. 5 million cadres. So these initiatives of the city administration of Addis Ababa and the government, it's about technology. What is your take on that?
Digitalization of the, let's say, from what I understand, like the administrational part of the city, right? So I think this is like wonderful. Still, of course, it's nice to give like the, still allow the possibility to do it manually, and like for the people that are not having access to the digital world, that they still can like do the same forms, the same like tasks in person. But I think many people that have like the access will prefer to use the digital access because it's just much more convenient, it's faster, and by allowing those services also, maybe the government will also like proceed to be faster, because I notice the administration can be like very slow in general, like anywhere in the world, and I would say also in particular like in lesser developed countries, where let's say like the administrational part can take like from several weeks to even months until like you get some specific like allowances or some specific like permissions or whatever it is. So I think this is a very good starting point like for the city of Addis to embrace those digitalization in their like everyday life. Many people will use it, and many people will save time and also like nerves and energy on it, because it is like just a more clear process. Of course, the process needs to be like designed well so that it is clear, and there's the equivalent of like a person going on and to the office and delivering the papers there. But I think it is going to be like a good step. So that's on that part. The other part about like the initiative to train 5 million citizens in the programming, I find is a wonderful initiative, and also like that it is going to be open for any people, any age, any education. That is like a wonderful thing, because programming in general is not just like the skill of being able to write some computer code. It is also, by teaching someone to program, you teach that person to think logically, rationally, and decompose bigger problems into smaller problems. And once you have this kind of thinking, this kind of like mentality, you will be able to use it in many different areas of life. So I think paired with what I notice in the African people are big entrepreneurs. They try like to make some small businesses, and they are not afraid to like try some business ideas. Pair this with like the logical thinking and like the step-by-step thinking, which you really need for the programming. I think this is going to be a fantastic investment into the people. So you just don't only like learn them, like teach them how to program itself, but you teach them to think critically and rationally, and this will come in handy in the long term for sure for the Ethiopian community.
Yeah, I think that is the most important point for the development of citizens, for the development of any society, any countries, just to think critically, just to think. I think there is a kind of statement that's good, think out of the box like that.
Absolutely, yes. This is coming with like such skills as programming. You got to start thinking out of the box. You got to start like decomposing the problem. As I told you, like the big elephant. You cannot eat the elephant in entirety. You just take it in small pieces, and that's the kind of thinking that will allow you to approach any challenge that you will face in your life with such a like with some ease at some point, even, like I would say. And thinking critically is nowadays like a very important aspect, because like we're being flooded with like some very like a lot of information in general nowadays. So you got to try to filter out what is important, what is not important, what is true, what is not true, who's trying like to maybe manipulate me or not. So this is like some aspects you gotta like protect yourself against that, because like algorithms can be like very, very tricky. So you gotta be aware and like have that feeling and like be conscious about like whatever is going on behind, and take a step back also out of it. So just make sure like whatever is being fed into you, that you can like think critically about it. Do I need it? Do I want it? Do I want to go into that direction? Yes. So critical thinking becomes like a very important thing if you don't want other people or the companies to take advantage of your persona.
I think you'd see the other side of something when you think about it critically. So in this regard, also think the future, just predicting what is coming to us, just by looking at what's happening right now. And I think it gives you a room to prepare yourselves. And when something happens, just you are already prepared for that. So much negative things will not happen to you.
Well, I want to encourage the young people, the young African and Ethiopian people, like to try out those technologies. Many of them are like available online, and they're also known at no cost. So give some curiosity, give some energy into those like projects, and I think it can be very fun also, like to discover what can we nowadays achieve, where can we save each other, like some worries, some energy, some tasks or whatever. It is just like fun to do it, and as you said, like nowadays I would even say it is definitely like part of my daily business to use those technologies for my advantage, and I become like faster, more efficient. So I encourage the African people also to give it a try. It is like available open source, so it can be like a very interesting path to like pursue.
Thank you again for coming here and for giving us your insights about these just emerging technology. I think it's going to control the world, I think. And we cannot get rid of that. Nobody will get rid of that.
No.
Yeah.
So better you learn how to use it. So it is
That's better.
That
We
you are
better
taking
learn,
advantage,
yes.
not that them are taking advantage of you, the technology. So yeah,
Yes.
you got to follow it.
Yeah. Thank you so much again.
Thanks for having
coming
me.
here,
It was a
for
pleasure.
Your time. Well, everyone, that's it for this week's Diplomatic Corner program. We've been talking about the technological advancements, the artificial intelligence, and we also talked about the preparedness of the young people, particularly Ethiopian and African young peoples, to cope with the emerging digital era. Until we meet you next week with another guest, have a wonderful time.